All right, everybody, what's going on? Happy Sunday to you and yours. Chewing the Fat with Chubby Dudley is live, live, live. And we're going to have a real, like every one of these is fun, but, again, and I'm going to relate it to like this. Um, the, the TWA guys and the early ECW guys are kind of like in my life, like my grade school people. There's like this amazing special bond with these people, and we went through so much together. Especially this guy. From day one, we hit it off. We became very good, close friends. We used to sit on the phone back in the days when we had actual phones in our houses and gossip all night long about the happenings at the wrestling school and the shows. And I would sit and talk to his mom, and he'd be like, "Mom, give me the phone." And we had such good times. But it's an honor and pleasure not only to introduce him tonight to everybody, but also after 30 plus years to still call this guy a good friend. And I'm glad we're doing this because we haven't really talked too much over the years, and now we get a chance to catch up again. But anyway, here he is. He was known as Gigolo many, many years ago. Gigolo Joe Zanolle. What's up, brother? How the fuck have you been?
What's up, Bay? I was going to start off and say I better not start off cursing,
Oh,
but it's a great effing day
it's a
to
great
take the
fucking day,
page
everybody.
out of your book.
Oh man, oh man, we're gonna have a great fucking time to make this a great fucking day.
Definitely. I've been enjoying watching the other guys that have been on, uh, especially Johnny and Tony. Grew up 2 blocks
That
from
whole South
Johnny,
Philly connection.
hot
Yeah.
body. Yeah, I grew up on 8th and between Chunk and Oregon. He was 6th and Porter. So I'd walk over his house. He'd walk over my house. And Tony, I had met them when I was a photographer. I took pictures of Tony. But senior year of my high school, we had to do like 40 hours of community service. It was Catholic high school. So I
Okay.
did it at the Methodist Hospital. And Tony worked there. I don't know if he still
Right.
worked there or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like, oh, it's Tony Stetson. So, I'd seen him at shows, seen him around, and I was doing 40 hours there, so I ran into him a lot there, and we became better friends. So
Funny. So all right, let's go all the way back. I guess we're going back to high school because you started in this crazy, wild, wacky business as a photographer.
yeah,
How old were you when you got started?
I guess about 15. My grandfather was like a gadgets person.
Okay.
Anything that would come out, he would buy, and
Okay.
he would get bored of it in like 2 months and then give it to me. So he had like, remember the old laser discs, the big
Yeah.
laser disc? He gave me my first VCR, top loading with
Okay.
the wire. He gave me my first Atari. It was the Sears version, and he gave me my first camera. Um, he used to travel a lot too and take pictures. He was into that a lot, and I loved the magazines like everybody else. And Bill Apter wrote a column on how to take wrestling pictures. What kind of camera, what kind of film, shutter speed,
Was
aperture,
was Bill a
everything.
photographer too? I don't. That's something I
Oh,
never knew.
Bill? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Bill did more pictures than writing, and he
Okay.
would travel a lot.
Okay.
So he had like a 1-page article on how to take wrestling photos. So I would get like first to fourth row, um, Civic Center and Spectrum, and I had like a telephoto lens.
Okay.
So about 14, 15, I started. I guess about like 16, I sold a few things to Bill. Sandy Krebs, wrestling's main event.
Mhm.
Sandy liked me a lot, and
Love Sandy.
Sandy's a great guy.
I
Yeah,
man, I drank so much with Sandy at the Marriott in my
yeah,
yeah. I remember. I guess it was '92 when the Rangers won the Stanley Cup, watching the Stanley Cup
Mhm.
at the Marriott with Stanley, and just hoping the Rangers would not win, and just like ripping on them like 40 years, it's gonna be 40 more, and then they win. Like,
Yeah, Sandy was a New York guy.
yeah,
He was friends with Paulie. He was big into NWA indies,
okay,
counter anti WWE.
right,
So I would get ringside a lot for NWA and stuff. And of course, I did Joel's shows. I did the shows at Temple. And just did the photography around the area. So
okay. So you're at these shows and you start taking pictures. Like, how did you know to start selling them? Like, did you like write? I mean, there was no internet back then, so did you like write a letter? Did you call or?
yeah, old school. Just send a letter, some pictures, and that was about it. And I knew I was also in the fan club with Joel and
Right.
Carmella and Paul. At the radio show, they were in Newmarket. I used to go down there. I used to bring pictures. Carmella loved Nikita. I used to get her. I remember one time I made a poster for her of Nikita.
Okay.
So, I would kind of see them around and then getting ringside and stuff. And then Joel was doing a little bit more. Like he was doing ring announcing and stuff for Crockett.
Right.
And stuff like that. But I went on all their trips. My first indie show was with Wrestling Radio Square Circle Fan Club. They went to the Ice Palace in Brick, New Jersey, NWF.
Okay.
And it was Drake was running the show, DC Drake. And they had Brody. That was my first indie show, was 87. Brody, Abby, the Fantastics. Jules Strongbow.
Okay.
Oh God, I was going to say Harley Lewis. I think Randy Lewis. Remember He-Man Randy Lewis? I think he was on there. Jules was a top face. It was like Jules and Brody against Drake and Abby, and they had Damian Kane with them.
Okay.
So yeah, I did the pictures. Up until about 1989. I did get into doing pictures again later. I did pictures, I refed, I did pictures, and then I did the ECWA shows. So
okay, so you're doing the pictures for a couple years.
yeah.
I mean, was that something that you thought maybe you could truly pursue and make a career out of, or?
Well, I like taking pictures, and I like the idea of it, and of course, it's fun to see your stuff in print. And,
Sure.
Get photo credit. And, I really like the indies. And I really, Wrestling's Main Event was really a lot about NWA and the indies.
Yeah.
And if I could get pictures in the magazines, I love doing that for the guys. The picture of Drake being thrown over the wall by Larry Winters was the picture I took.
Wow.
I don't know if I put it on the Facebook thing, but
I remember seeing that in the magazines back in the day.
Yeah, Sandy Krebs had used that picture. So I guess in my warped mind, I knew I was not going to be a wrestler, right? And I saw Cornette and Paul Heyman was taking pictures and became managers. I guess I thought I was going to be a manager.
I was going to ask that. Did you have any
And I did, and I remember Tony or Johnny, probably Tony, said, well, Joel and stuff, he's got ringmasters, and they're actually looking for referees because they were using John Finnegan, who trained me. And I don't know if you remember Rich Engling. He moved to Florida. And there was a smaller guy, smaller stature. I think his name was George. Last name started with a P. He was a ref. But like anybody else, they're doing their own thing, their own school. They want to produce their own people.
Yeah.
So they wanted to do, they were looking for refs. I was like, sounds good to me.
Okay.
So that's how I got into the referee thing,
Did you ever even consider that before that opportunity opened up, or?
No, I guess I had the manager thing in my head, and I probably would have been an awful awful manager. But that hasn't stopped many people in this business being bad. Which some might say about my refereeing, but
Okay, so all right, so you decide now to go to Ringmasters. So Finnegan was the one that taught you then.
yeah,
Okay.
Don, and I probably couldn't have fallen in the hands of somebody better than John. He's one of my best friends. I love John.
Love John.
And if you know me and you know John and you knew what the business was like then, like me and John are kind of more like family type guys. You know, we don't drink. John's never had a drink of alcohol.
Really?
You know, yeah. I haven't had alcohol in years and years and years. I had some when I like turned 21, but you know, never smoked, nothing like that.
Okay.
My problem was cheesesteaks.
It's not a bad problem to have.
Which is just as addictive as alcohol.
Well, I'll drink.
But, you know, so John was a great like trainer, mentor, friend. And, you know, a lot of times I felt like I didn't fit in wrestling because, you know, especially back then, a lot of different type of guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Tough guys, rough guys.
Crazy guys.
Yeah, I was the opposite. I was, like I said before, I was like the Richie Cunningham, you know.
Yeah.
Mr. Humdrum, you know. But John trained me, and I think I started at that point too. I had lost a lot of weight.
Okay.
I put it back on, as you noticed. I had lost a lot of weight, and I tell you, when I got in that gym, it was hot as hell, and I go there 3 nights, 4 nights a week, and sweated my ass off, and I ate whatever the hell I wanted to, and I was like 180. 180. So that part of it I liked a lot. And I guess I started in July, maybe May. We had a small show in July in Clementon, July 90 in Clementon, New Jersey.
Okay.
Blackwood Clementon Road. It was in the parking lot of a Friendly's. It was like a carnival where we were like under a tent. And I remember I did. You remember that?
That was before my. So that
Yeah. You came later on.
I came for my tryout. I think it was July. It was either July or August of 1990.
Okay. Yeah, so July I done that show. I remember I did Stetson and Bruno against. You remember Merrill Ghetto Blaster?
Yeah.
And I think it was Johnny O. It was a tag match.
Okay.
And I won't go into the details of how bad the finish was and who was at fault. But it was a fun time. And then my second show was September 90 at the Civic Center. That's the one and only time my family came.
Okay.
And my mom came and she said, "Joe, I'm sorry. I can never go again."
That was my first indie show.
Yeah.
And it changed my life. I was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing I ever saw in my life.
This is my second show. My first show, I did a few matches. And John's like, "You're doing Abby and Cactus." And I thought he was kidding, you know? I was like, "Are you serious?"
Wait, time out. So your second show.
Yeah.
Within your first 5 matches, you're refereeing Cactus and Abby.
That was probably like the 4th or 5th match I refereed. And to make things... See, now Joel brought in all these names.
Right.
And there was a lot of schmazzes. And when you had Abby and the Sheik, and you knew it was going to be a double DQ schmazz. There's no direction.
Right.
And... You know, I'm still new. I'm still going off of Abby I see on TV.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, you know, Cactus was cool. Cactus was late. So they had Manny. Now, I had some experience with Manny.
No. It was flipped. It was Manny was late, and it was Cactus filling in.
Oh, okay.
Manny got.
Yeah. But I had met Manny, taking pictures, and Manny had a short fuse. I don't know.
Oh yeah. I worked a show for him that he booked in Jersey, and we were hanging out afterwards. We had the whoever the promoter was had a hookup with like a local deli that like served alcohol, and all the boys had to go back there to go get their pay, and we're all there drinking and eating, and I'm outside talking to Manny, me and HD, and Manny was telling us how he wanted to book us and this and that, and somebody had a convertible Cadillac like Boss Hogg from the Dukes of Hazzard, and he pissed in the fucking the roof was down, and he pissed into the Cadillac.
That sounds like a fun night.
Yeah,
especially with Manny. I had Chris Giordano. Me and Chris. I went to some show in South Jersey. I think it was Rob Russin.
Okay.
And there was a girl there that was friends with Manny, and she said, "Could you give him a ride to his hotel?"
Oh.
I'm like, "Okay, okay." So he gets in the car. I'm like, "Where are we headed?" He said, "I don't have a room yet." I said, "Oh." So we drive down to the airport and start stopping hotel by hotel. Every hotel is booked. He is pissed off. Chris is in the back seat. Manny's in the hotel, cursing out this girl, calling her every name in the book. And Chris is like, "Joe, just go. This guy's crazy." And I was thinking about it. I didn't want to leave the guy stranded.
Right.
But we had stopped. He got his shit back. I'm like, I hope you don't take it out on me. You know what I mean?
Are you like complaining? Are you like, will I cross paths with him again? Well,
it's a good thing, yeah, because I had to go up them for the what do you call it match? I guess Abby or one of the other matches. I think I did him and Ivan too, in a chain. But he comes in. He says, "There's some kind of religious revival group in town. Every hotel's booked." I'm like, "Oh my God." I was like, "How many hotels are we going to have to go to? And is he going to lose it before we find him a place?" But we found him a place. He was, he thanked us and stuff. I ran into him again. But that was.
That's
he could have went off. He could have went off at any moment, man. And as a fan, I loved Manny. I loved the NWA.
Yeah, of course.
So it's weird. You're watching them on TV, and now you're in the ring with them.
Yeah.
And I'm 19, 20. I'm nobody. I don't know nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I was a big enough a fan to understand and know so much.
Right.
You know what I mean? But as far as actual experience, actually doing it, also as a photographer, and like say Ric Flair, that's a big thing people say about Ric Flair. Oh, you seen one Ric Flair match, you've seen them all. All the guys have trademark spots.
Oh yeah,
they all do. So when you're taking pictures, you kind of know what's coming, somewhat. Today I couldn't tell you,
right?
But back in the day, I did Hogan and Rock ringside at WrestleMania, which was awesome.
Right.
Hogan and Rock. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I'm going to know every single little motion and move, but the spots. So you know a little bit. But yeah, I guess it was like my second show was probably the fourth or fifth match was Abby, and yeah, he was. You said Manny was late, right? And they said Cactus out.
Yeah.
And no information before. Go up to Abby, how you doing? This, that. Don't worry about it.
Where are you? Abby gave me nightmares for years.
Yeah.
Where you had to be like petrified.
I was scared. And then that match, after, him and Jack went at it for a while, when Manny got there, he did the run-in.
Right.
And we went up, I guess, on the stage into like the stands.
Okay.
And Abby threw me over like a row of chairs. So that was the one thing my mom saw. Then later in the night, they had Lawler and Funk, and I did it running, and Funk gave me pile driver. That's what my mom had to see. You know, that's you know, and Funk gave me a pile driver. Never took a pile driver. Didn't know it was coming, and I took it wrong. I didn't put my legs up in the air. I could have got hurt. But turned out all right. And yeah, that was my first experience with Abby. And you know those guys, Abby, Funk, even to a degree, Kevin Sullivan, Sabu,
Right.
you know, the whole Japan thing. They go after photographers, throw chairs, and this and that and the other. It's unpredictable, you know, like not only trying to do my job, but trying to make sure I don't get hit. You know what I mean?
So were you like now, like you went from being on the other side of the guardrail to then being ringside to then being in the ring?
Yeah.
Were you thinking to yourself, what the hell am I doing? Like, why did I cross over to this other side?
You know, I loved it. It was some of the best times. I met so many people, you know, like we've known each other, I don't know, 30 years.
What is it? It's 34 years now.
Yeah. I mean, wrestling really, I remember you saying on one of the shows, taught you a lot of life lessons and stuff. Wrestling really got me out of my shell. You know, I was really quiet in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I did get some anxiety going inside the ring and stuff. And I took it seriously. I would watch stuff on TV, like study.
Yeah.
I mean, every show I had a book. It's probably in the garage somewhere. I wrote down all the matches, what happened, anything significant happened. You know what I mean? What I did wrong.
Okay.
What I need to do better. You know, I didn't take it lightly.
That's awesome.
And you know, I was always great in school, and that's how I looked at things. You know, like I was trying to be a student to, you know, learn.
Were you like one of the people like involved in like tape trading and stuff like that too, or?
We had a few tapes. I didn't get too many. Yeah, I never really got into the tape trading deep. That's how I became a fan. My brother's 4 years older. He was a fan.
Okay.
And he started with the magazines. And I remember, I think the first TV I saw, I think Peter Maivia turned.
Okay.
And the first show I saw was either November, I think it was 78, was the Spectrum.
Wow.
It was Billy Graham and Dusty Rhodes with the cowbell and the blood. And I remember Snuka and Backlund vividly. So I did know about the other stuff from the magazines. And I grew up on the side of Broad Street where you didn't have cable.
Yeah.
So we only had WWF, and if you got HBO, you got a box this big.
Yeah.
You know, with a switch looked like the size of a slot machine lever. You know, it's like, hey, come help me flip this switch. And then we got rid of that and got Prism.
Right.
And I remember seeing Prism down the shore too. I remember like Slaughter and Patterson, and like that was like one of the best brawls of all time. Was those guys? You know, talk about ECW and Extreme. Those guys had a brawl with just their fists, shirt, belt, and it was just as brutal as anything you ever saw, because they knew how to work. Yeah. They knew how to punch. They knew how to take a punch. So I didn't do too much of the tape trading. I did get some. I remember getting that commercial tape, PWI, that Apter did and stuff with Lords of the Ring.
Yeah.
And that was a great tape. It was just the way it was produced. The music, it was like an MTV type vibe thing. and just the stuff they had in there, Kerry winning the title and Dusty Rhodes and this and that. And when you only had WWF, yeah, you wanted the stuff you couldn't get.
Yeah.
You know, and that really like drove my interest. And like I remember watching Crockett on Channel 35 Spanish, where it was Carlos Colon was feuding with Tully Blanchard.
Okay.
And then next thing I knew in January, NWA's on Channel 17.
Right.
I think the main event, the first show, was Tully, Ron Bass, and Black Bart against Dusty, Dick Slater, and Ricky Steamboat. And it was a bunkhouse 6-man. I was like, wow. You know, WWF didn't have that stuff. WWF. I mean, they had, like I said, like Patterson, Slaughter. They had blood and stuff, but they didn't have the bunkhouse. They didn't have the barbed wire. They didn't have the scaffold. That was all Southern stuff.
Yep.
You know,
crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you're in TWA, you're working TWA, you're reffing, things are blowing up with TWA. What were some other, like, you got bumped by Abby. Was there any other crazy moments in TWA for you? Wait, okay.
I got bumped by Abby twice.
What was the one? I was telling this story to Coco, and I was fucking hysterical thinking about it. Because I remember you complaining about it for months. It was at a Civic Center show. You got bumped by somebody, and you were selling it so good you ended up on a fucking gurney, and they took you to the hospital in an ambulance.
I was on gurneys a couple times.
You were like,
after that time, I did a show with Larry. Well, that was Gilbert. I did Gilbert and Cactus in the barbed wire. And I really think that match changed a lot of things. You know, Johnny and Tony and Drake and Winters. But that match, other than Crockett, you didn't have barbed wire. Yeah. I know Johnny and Tony did do barbed wire too. They did a lot, but that was a crazy match that I think was like stuff was changing, you know what I mean? Where stuff was going. I mean, it was a wild match.
Instantly I'm thinking to myself with that match, I remember Cactus got caught up in the barbed wire. And I just remember, I think I was saying it to Tony or Johnny, I could still hear him screaming for his life in my ears.
Well, he made fun of me in his book. He didn't mention me by name. He said the ref went to the hospital emergency room, wasn't hurt, and I got holes in my neck. Look, I told you I was just a big fan of wrestling, student in wrestling. I was told to sell. I was, you know, when a wrestler, even if he's Eddie Gilbert stature, you know, does something to a referee, it should hurt a referee more than it hurts a wrestler.
Absolutely. So
you pile drive a referee, I'm not moving. I think I was afraid to get up too, probably get hit again.
People don't understand. This fucking story went on for months.
Wait, so Cactus tells me to finish. He says, you know, and some of this doesn't make sense because it's supposed to be anything goes, barbed wire. You know what I mean? And then I'm always like logic, like, well, why would I get in the middle? And, you know, you guys just go at. I mean, I didn't say that to him. I'm saying in my head, logically, it's anything goes.
Sure.
But this was the finish. Gilbert was down in the corner. Cactus was on top of him. I'm supposed to try to get Cactus off. I can't. So I pull Cactus by the hair.
Okay.
Off of Gilbert. He turns around and shoves me down. When he turns back around to Gilbert, Gilbert throws the fireball.
Okay.
So the place going crazy. So I get up, not too fast. I mean, he only shoved me.
Yeah.
And try to get in and get Gilbert off Cactus. Because, like, again, it's anything goes. It's barbed wire, but, I mean, he burned a guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Eddie took his boot off, and he was beating Cactus with it, and he just turned and swung and hit me and knocked me down. And then he picked me up and he gave me pile driver. So after that, I don't know what happened.
You didn't know you were taking the pile driver?
No.
Okay.
But I knew to put my legs up this time. I learned
the hard way.
See, in 6 months, I learned how to take a pile driver. So they're carrying me to the back. I guess I just kept falling. And out of nowhere, I guess my eyes were closed. That was the third match I did. I was tired. I was blown up. I was sweating a lot. You know what I mean? I was tired.
Yeah. You were
out of nowhere, I get smelling salts under my nose. I'm like, what the hell? The medics are there. So I grabbed Finnegan by his shirt. I said, get them away. I said, don't let them stick me with a needle or nothing. I said, you know what I mean? I'm like, I was ready to jump up and run. But so he told them. So what happened was I get pushed through the double doors, and the medic says something like, you okay now? You just faking, whatever. And Gilbert's there giving a promo. And he goes, of course he's not all right. If he ever gets in my face again, I'll do the same thing. Now, like, I'm laying flat. Gilbert's back here. I can't see him. I don't know if it's video. I don't know if it's audio. But I'm like, I got a kayfabe. You know what I mean? So I'm walking around the back with the neck brace on. So, you know, I told Finnegan and Joel and stuff, and I was telling Tony, Rick Rude and Honky was in there, and I was telling Tony, I guess I whispered to Tony, and Rick Rude goes, hey, Honky, the ref's kayfabing us. So what I got was, I think people thought I was hurt, but I was saying, nah, I'm okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was told the commission wanted me to get checked out. I guess they didn't want me to go back out, get hurt, and try to sue them. And
Frank Talent?
I guess it was Frank, but they were giving a hard time, saying if he doesn't get checked out, I don't know, stop the show, there was going to be a problem. Janetti went with me. And I'm back in the ambulance. I'm like, you got any magazines back here to read or something? You know, I was okay, and I got checked out and stuff. And a couple days later, I'm at Joel's, and a fan calls, and they said, you know, Joel had him like on an intercom, and the fan says, "Yeah, that referee man really got it. You know, that pile driver." And Joel says, yeah, he's fucked up. he's in the hospital. I'm sitting there with Joel. I'm like, oh, my God.
Oh, that's great.
So I got in trouble for selling too good. And that was May of 91. And then August, I go up with Larry.
But then, wait, the other part of the story that's funny is, because then you got hit with the fucking bill. And you kept trying to get Joel to pay the bill, and he wouldn't pay.
I was young. I didn't have insurance, and I learned fast. But yeah, if you're in the wrestling business, get insurance. But I guess that was May of 91. You go to August of 91. We did a show for Boston Bad Boy. CWA, Century Wrestling Alliance. They'd have shows at Century Car Dealership.
Tony Rumble. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Tony Rumble, Dreamer, and Taz was there. Okay. And this is 91, August. I think I was the only ref that show. There was like 6 matches.
Okay.
And I did Rude and Orndorff. Rude pile drives me.
They know you're a professional now.
Don't ask me how car dealership had a gurney.
What?
They grabbed me and put me on a gurney. I guess they had an ambulance there. I guess for, you know, insurance or whatever.
on that
I
gurney.
come through the door, I hear Larry, where the hell are you at? He goes, we got to go. We got to get this. He goes, every time he goes, I look up, all I see is 2 feet coming through the door. He says, every time I see you, you're on a stretcher. I said, they grabbed me. What am I going to do? You know what I mean? I take the stretcher ride.
Oh my God. That's hysterical.
Yeah, they were the 3 pile drivers. It was Terry Funk, Eddie Gilbert, and Rude. And Rude, big dude, tall.
Yeah.
You know, it was a little bit different. Taking after Rude, but it was smooth. But he didn't tell me either. You know, the second time I get hit by Abby was St. John Newman, was Abby and Bigelow. And I couldn't get Bigelow because I knew I'd rather talk to Bigelow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I guess in my head for some reason.
Sure.
And I couldn't get a hold of him, so I talked to Abby.
Oh, jeez.
So, you know, just asking him what to do. And he's kind of hemming and hawing. He's like, when the time's right, you'll know. And I said, that's what I'm afraid of. So we're in the ring. And, you know, it was a common spot finish, I guess. I got too close, I guess. Bam Bam had Abby in a sleeper, and Abby's flailing his arms.
Okay.
And he knocks me right here, like on my temple.
Okay.
And I like froze. And then it was like a tree falling, like slow motion.
Oh. So
I'm laying on the mat. All I hear is Bob Ortiz, Joe, they're coming back. Roll over, roll. So I had to roll from like, you know, the ring to under the ropes, and Bob Ortiz and Rocky Luciano got me. And I saw Abby after. He goes, oh yeah, sorry about that. He goes, but it's good for the business. I said, yeah. In the meantime, my head blew up.
Oh.
And I was out of it. And in the shower, and the honky tonk man's in the shower singing. I'm like, what the hell? Like, am I like knocked out? What the hell is going on here? I think Honky wrestled David San Martino that night. But,
What the hell was he singing?
Honky Tonk Man, I guess.
Hysterical.
I guess he was just talking. I'm like out of it. I'm like, what is this guy doing his gimmick in the shower?
Oh.
The next day, my mom made me go check that out. But I still made the show in the town the next day.
There you go.
I think it was Delaware or probably Delaware, I think it was. I didn't get Abby's match that day. Don said, skip it.
So at that time, 91's coming to a close. ECW or TWA is like the hot thing in all the magazines. There's a huge buzz. There's a big freaking match, which, in my opinion, I thought was going to just set TWA apart from everybody, put us completely on the map. It was going to be the match, the Battle of the Nature Boys, Buddy Rogers versus Buddy Landell. And a week beforehand, Joel closes up shop and pulls the plug and makes the announcement on his Wrestling radio show. Did you have any inkling at all that was going to happen or expected or?
No. I was just a referee.
Yeah.
You know, I heard it. I said, I'm going back to bed. I was going to get up. I did he had like a press conference.
Right.
I was at with both buddies. I tell you, one of the best guys, and I'm not talking, aside from his personal things and stuff, Buddy Landell, I love.
Yeah. I fucking miss that guy.
He was like so helpful to me and a lot of guys.
What he did for me.
Right. I told you some guy, I remember David San Martino ripped me a new asshole in the middle of the match. It was him and Ivan.
Really?
And Ivan talked to me afterwards, and I said, fuck him. Listen to me. This is what you did, whatever. And Ivan was so nice. And Buddy was really like that. And at one time I got hurt. He goes, Orndorff hurt me. It was inadvertent. You know, it wasn't really his fault. He's like, you got to tell him somebody hurt you. You got to tell him, you know, like that stuff. Like, I
Right.
really think Buddy was trying to, you know, he had his shot with Crockett. I guess things went sideways for him. I think he was trying to establish himself and,
I think that
you
was
know,
it was
get on
definitely
the
his,
right path.
yeah,
You
it
know,
was definitely his second chance at greatness.
he was in good shape. And one of the favorite matches that I did was Buddy and Austin Idol.
Mm.
Both guys said I did a great job. They went all around. That's another time I got bumped. I went. So you got to remember too, back then that, or for me anyway, there was ref bumps, but not every match.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, there's a lot of ref bumps involved. One, you know, like say like an aluminum door that pulls down, like a garage door. Well, it was
Right.
halfway pulled down. So one of them grabbed me and threw me. So I hit it, but the floor was wet. Guy slipped and kicked up. They're like, that was a great bump. I said, thanks. I didn't have a choice. You know what I mean? Because I slipped.
That's funny.
The end of the match, they took my belt off. One of them whipped the other. They had a. That was a really good match for me. Like, they didn't treat me like I was invisible. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They gave me feedback and stuff like that. So I was looking forward to playing down Rogers because I really liked Buddy, and it was a big bummer, but I mean, you know, the talent that came in.
Yeah.
Joel paid people very good.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I mean, their shows were loaded. I was looking at the card. What was on that card? He was supposed to have Benoit on that card, I think, which would have been, which would at that time would have been, because the other one he had Owen Hart, you know,
right, versus Takayuka Izuka, I think his name was.
Yeah, I wasn't too heavy in Japan stuff. I forget who Benoit was supposed to fight. I think he was supposed to fight a Japanese wrestler too. But yeah, you know, it was a year and a half fun.
Yeah,
but it ended quick. But I'm glad I did it, and
I'm
glad I got the chance.
I'm almost positive, like when that happened, because I remember I was doing a telemarketing job at that time, and I was at work listening to the show, and I remember like the first person I called was Janetti, and then probably second person I called was you. I mean, which you two were my two closest. So, yeah.
And I, Richards, and what was Frank's name? Domino, yeah. We're supposed to debut.
Right.
And I was going to do their match because they would practice the match in the school.
Yeah.
And I would, you know.
We're all supposed to, I think, debut on the same show at the FOP. I had started selling, I had the tickets. I was selling tickets for it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, I remember now, I think it was ECW, I guess, where they had that battle royal and chopped up Richards. I think he was the boy in the hood. They put a mask on him. And I think, I don't know if it was your show. Francine was at. Didn't she come out as Miss Fabulous or Mr. and Mrs.?
Her
Fabulous, Mr. and Mrs. Incredible or something like that. She was like a ballet, but she didn't have like a name. It was like an adjective, like Miss.
That's a good question. I forget. Her pro wrestling debut was from me.
I feel like it was Eddystone.
No, it was Springfield at September's place. I
remember talking to her on the stage. She went out with somebody with blonde hair. Was it Jimmy Shoulders, maybe? Was he Mr.
Oh, what was that dude's name? With the
Fabulous.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. I could picture him. I forget his name.
Yeah, but he was whatever the name was, say it was Fabulous. It was Mr. and Mrs. Fabulous or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember the Eddie Stone. I
have to ask Cody what his name was. He was one of Iron Mike Sharp's guys.
He was muscular though, right? Like muscular, blonde hair.
Yeah. Really good worker too. I forget his name. Wow.
When did you do your shows? Before Eastern or after? You were after Eastern, right?
I was during Eastern because Eastern started, right then at 92. It was 90 summer 94 is when you were at my house. I had the meeting at my house where I called all the boys together to see who would be interested in putting together a new federation. And
I could have swore at that meeting I said Liberty Championship Wrestling. And you did Liberty All Star.
Yeah, because we wanted to make like a what's that, an acronym or whatever? Yeah. So ECW's makes the announcement, or Todd steps up and takes over. Were you at the rink that night at Bob Artis's ice skating rink when they made the announcement? When they called the meeting of all this?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
I worked the shows. What was the first show? The Sports Bar. That was Tony Ivan.
Yeah.
I worked the Sports Bar. I worked the Chestnut Cabaret. I worked Cabrini. The first shows at the arena I worked, it was a weekend. That's when Terry Funk hung me.
we'll get to that. So, did you know Todd at all when he took over at that point, or
like I said, I was always kind of quiet, shy guy. Hey, how you doing? From seeing him and stuff.
Right.
He was always nice to me. I never had a problem, but we talked about this before. And not just wrestling, any company. 9 times out of 10, you buy a company, you're going to do what you want with it.
Yeah.
And it's your money, and you're going to use your boys.
Sure.
And Todd used me in the beginning. I know, I don't want to say I know, but I was just getting, the vibe. I know Eddie Gilbert didn't care for me. They were bringing more refs to the show.
Before even that, let me ask you this: like, before we got TV, as the maybe it was a year, not even a year.
I thought it was quick.
Yeah, it was quick. Maybe
Chestnut Cabaret was on TV.
Yeah. Did you the product itself? Did you like it?
It seemed like where Joel's seemed like more progressive, like new, good or not, whether you liked it or not.
Yeah,
new, progressive. This seemed like a little bit more like a step back.
Yes,
80s, reserved. I mean, he used, like you said, a lot of legends. Morocco. I did a lot of stuff with Snuka.
Yeah.
I did Snuka and Glenn. I took a headbutt from Snuka that match. Snuka was funny. You had to watch Snuka, because if you didn't watch, you didn't know the self. You couldn't feel him.
Wow.
Because I think he kicked me one time, and somebody said he just laid there. I was like, I didn't even know. You know what I mean? And his headbutt, with his hair and stuff. But, wow. I think he used, who else did he use? Was it Todd? Well, Terry Taylor, he didn't like me either.
See, Taylor only came in the one shot. You know what? He
cursed me out too.
I just had this conversation with somebody in the last week or two. Maybe it might have been Phil Sly, maybe. I forget. But Taylor came in for one, I think it was just one time, one shot.
Northeast Tabor.
And Chestnut Cabaret.
He did, I don't remember that, but he did 2 shows.
Yeah.
and he worked Tony both nights.
Okay.
And I did them the second night.
Okay.
And I can't remember the phrasing, but I assumed he was going over because Tony went over the first night.
Okay.
I don't know. I just assumed they were
Right.
trading. And he goes, "No, he's going over. Is that all right with you, ref?" I'm like, "Fine with me." You know what I mean? Like, I meant no anything. I guess I just stupidly assumed that they were trading wins, but he put Tony over both nights, which was great, you know, for Tony. But I got off on the wrong foot with him.
That's funny. I just remember, like, because I remember there was a battle royal at Chestnut Cabaret, and I was always a mark for Taylor before his Red Rooster shit. Like, I felt so embarrassed for him with that situation. But
He was one of the greats.
yeah. So I kept like tailing him in the battle royal just to get the chance to work with him. But I kept fucking with him and give him the Piper eye poke, and he was getting pissed. And finally, at one point, he just got me in a corner and started fucking laying him in.
I think at that point, maybe he was kind of a little bit frustrated
Sure.
with his career.
Yeah.
I mean, he hadn't done the Red Rooster and stuff, but, you know, he was big with, I don't even know when UWF went out of business, but,
Yeah. It was,
you know, then they had the Crockett. Then they, just like you say, Todd or Paulie brought people in. Look what Crockett did with UWF. They killed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They took their biggest guy, I guess, which was Bubba, and Dusty. Psh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, your guy beats their champion. What's that mean for your open card guy?
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And I don't know. You can read about that and stuff. The reasons why they did it. They wanted to go. I don't know. Crockett bought an office in Texas, and you know, it's like, what are you buying? You're killing the guys. You're not using the name. The hell did you buy? Let them go out of business.
And back then, it wasn't about buying, like, you know, like
Right.
all these like things up for the merch and the logos and tapes and the footage and all that stuff. It wasn't about
like WWF getting WCW.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now they could use the logo and sell shirts and put them in the video games and this and that.
Right.
Well, they always say that was one of the big. I don't know what he paid for it.
Probably pennies.
But one of the big mistakes that they made.
Mm-hmm.
They always say that the airplane.
Yeah.
Then they'll blame Dusty.
Sure.
I don't know. It was a tough sell because, like you said, you read, their office was like a converted convenience shop with 3 people.
Yeah.
Like, man, had an office building.
Mm-hmm.
Or offices in an office building. Full-time staff. You know?
Crazy. So, all right. So, with ECW, then, you know, we get the Sports Channel contract and all. And then out of nowhere, and I remember when Todd told me, and I was blindsided. I was never expecting this to happen. Eddie Gilbert now becomes the booker.
Yeah.
How did you find out?
I can't remember. I guess just at the show. I mean, I didn't know too much. What was Eddie's first show?
Cabrini.
It was Cabrini.
The first.
Because I know Paul was there. Because I remember me and John talking to Paul. Paul was always like,
he wasn't there.
The
first set of tapings, Paul was not there.
Oh,
second set, Paul was there.
Yeah, he was quiet.
Yes,
when I had seen him,
he was just observing and sitting back.
Yeah. Yeah, and they had Terry Funk, Ad Hawk.
Yeah.
Morocco, Snuka.
Mm-hmm.
Ivan. Doug Gilbert.
Yeah.
Use Ivan. I mean, you know, they still had Tony, and they didn't take all the TWA guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but they had Glenn. They had Tony. Had Johnny. You guys. I'm trying to think. Well, JT.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they took a fair amount. You know, just not all of them, but it's like anything else. They're gonna Yeah, there's going to be a transition period, and they're
Right.
going to bring in their own guys. Yeah, I'm trying to think. The last shows I did for them was the first at the arena, and then I think the following show was when Gilbert quit. I think he was supposed to be in a chain match or something, right? And he came out to the ring to say goodbye or something like that.
See, I was already gone at that point.
You
That
know,
was
I did.
my
Yeah.
bitter. That was in my bitter error. I was still very pissed off and bitter at ECW and Todd. So I wasn't. I popped in the very first arena show. I went in and just like hung out, watched a couple of the matches just to see what the arena was about and all. I was like, oh, this is a shithole, and this isn't going to work. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, well, definitely more.
Yeah.
I remember. I think when Funk hung me, I think it was Hawk and Snuka, and Funk ran in, and then you had Sal, who was doing his like Wild Man, Bruiser Brody type deal.
Mm-hmm.
And all I remember was the chairs and the trash cans and this and that. I was like, this is getting a little out of hand. Funk hung me.
Did you know that was coming? I mean, that was like an iconic like moment in the opening credits of ECW TV for the longest time.
Well, I was on the floor in between stuff, and my back was to the ring.
Okay.
All I know is a chain comes around my neck. And I'm like, how do you fake this? I'm like, I've never been hung before, you know? So I just tried to get my hands in there and hope he let me down before it was too late.
Oh, my Lord. Was that probably like the scariest moment for you in wrestling as a referee?
Yeah, I mean, I was all right. The thing with Abby was really like, I think just because like I said, I felt like I froze and I felt like I fell in slow-mo. It was weird. I don't want to say I was knocked out. They knocked me for a loop.
Right.
And then my head, like I said, I've always gotten migraines, but then like my head, it was like swollen here and stuff. So, but yeah, it was getting kind of wild.
Did you like that stuff? I mean, were you enjoying it or?
Yeah. I wasn't crazy about the one thing I wasn't crazy about. Well, I never really cared for the blood. Watching it was cool.
Sure.
I mean, but I didn't want to bleed. And I go back to TWA. I remember Sheik, and Abby were fighting.
Yeah.
And Bruno Giannetti and somebody else, maybe Rick Perez, ran the ringside.
Mm-hmm.
And she grabbed them one by one.
Yep. Yeah.
I used to say to Mike, he opens you up like a can of tuna. I said, what do you have? He had a can opener on him. So
he's like fucking Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah. So just talking about things I didn't like. So a couple months later, it was Abby Sheik Cage, and they wanted a referee to bleed. I was like, pass. John was like, pass. Molyneux did it. So knowing that they ran in, I said, they're going to tell people to run in at the end of this. So the convention hall had a shower closet there. I don't know if you remember. It's like a closet you go in.
I never went completely backstage.
Yeah. So I went in the shower, I locked the door, and I took a 45-minute shower. I was like, there's no way I'm running in at the end of this. And I locked myself into that shower closet to make sure the match was done because I wasn't running in and getting gigged, So, and I got some cuts and stuff in the barbed wire, but nothing bad. And so I wasn't too crazy about that, but I wasn't crazy about the throwing the stuff, the chairs, especially like the chair thing. I mean, some of those chairs, I mean, I don't know. They had things happen where they had to run up to people and give them T-shirts and stuff if they got hit or whatever.
Right.
You were, you know,
I forgot about
really walking the line with some of that stuff.
Yeah.
For liability and stuff. So I guess the throwing the things like that and being asked to bleed, I was not, you know, I was not for that. And just don't think Gilbert cared for me. A couple other things, you know, bringing a lot of different refs in.
Yeah.
So I called Todd.
Okay.
And, you know, I was honest with him. And I said, I just get the feeling that you guys aren't crazy about me. I'm asking you, and anything I can do different, anything, you know. He goes, oh no, everything's fine. But like you could tell when you're not wanted around, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I never wanted to be somewhere where I wasn't wanted.
Okay.
And I had other things going on too. You know, that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Did you stop going or?
Yeah, after Todd, like I didn't get an answer. I told John, I said, I just, I think I'm just going to step back. Yeah, I just didn't get the vibe. I always thought Joel liked me. I always thought John liked me.
Right.
Yeah, as far as a ref. And I don't know if Eddie didn't like me, did like me, was indifferent, just wanted to use other people.
Sure.
And that was fine. You know, not everybody's going to be a fan of yours, you know.
Did John try to like talk you out of it at all, or?
He, I see Phil and Mike messaging, talking about my two-tone colored beard.
Not here.
No, on instant messenger.
Oh, okay.
He probably said, "Oh, you know, come on, whatever." But you know, that was May of '93, and yeah, I just wasn't feeling it. You know, I did some of the stuff for you. I did some other things. But yeah, I just felt like there wasn't a place there. You know, sometimes they don't get rid of you, but they make it so that you don't want to be there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like you get
in the harm's way and trying to really.
Oh well, not even that. Just like the cold shoulder, or you know, you're doing less and this and that. And,
right.
I mean, you know, there's the other way. You could approach it the other way, and you say, "Oh, I'm going to try 150% more." But
as I've been watching, you know, I'm going through and rewatching and doing this reaction channel with this. Like for months, I had not seen you, and what was the thing I just saw? And I was like, "Oh my God, Joe's still there." And you got bumped or something. Anyway, but I was shocked. I'm like, "Oh my God, Joe is still there," and I couldn't believe it because I thought you were already gone at that point. But you can see, like, they were pushing you out, and they were using, you know, Lawler's kid, Kevin, a lot, and doing the whole Freddie Gilbert gimmick.
Yeah, I forget who else they brought in, too. I don't think they brought the guy in yet from Boston. I think he was friends with the Eliminators. That was later.
Yeah, that was later. Well, then, yeah, because then later, like, Sabu brought Pee Wee in.
Right.
What was the guy? Jim. I forget his name. But he was a great guy, a really nice guy. I used to like hang out with him afterwards and drink with him at the travel.
Pee Wee?
Not Pee Wee was a really nice guy too. There was a guy, Jim, kind of blondish hair.
Is that the guy from Boston? I thought his name was Paul something. The guy from Boston.
Maybe
he kind of had like long curly blondish hair.
Yeah. His name was Paul.
I thought so. Yeah. He used to wear like the fuzzy wristbands.
Yes.
Wristbands. Yeah. Yeah, I think he was friends with the Eliminators. I forget who they brought to ref in. I can't remember. I don't know if I know they brought in Kevin Lawler.
Yeah.
I can't remember if they used Sal or not.
When you left, and like all of us, either we got phased out or left, et cetera, et cetera. And then you're seeing this thing that you were part of to help create start blowing up into this like wrestling dream come true. How did you feel about that?
Well, like I said, I had some things going on. I did some stuff for you. That was like, I think the first show at the arena was May '93, and like, I guess it was less than a year. My mom passed away,
Right.
and when she passed away, I moved in with my grandmother, and I was out all the time.
Right.
I couldn't sit home. I didn't really watch much of it.
Yeah.
I started dating a girl. I go over her house. We would turn it on in a few minutes. But I was kind of just like in a little bit of a haze there.
Of course.
And so, yeah, I didn't follow too much from, I guess, after I did some of the stuff for you. And then like 95, 96, 97, 98.
94, 95 is when I was promoting, and then I took a back seat and left the business in 96 for a few years.
I know I was going out with this one girl, and I was friendly with her brother-in-law, and we had just broken up, and he came to a show with his nephew, I think, with me. I think to Eddie Stone. But I think I thought that was 95.
Yeah.
And then around 99, I started looking at my stuff, looking at my old pictures, starting up again, getting the bug again.
Sure.
And Bill Apter left PWI.
Right.
And he started WOW Magazine.
Okay.
And there was always a big need for WWF stuff. So I started taking pictures again. I started taking pictures for Bill at WOW.
Okay.
And then I contacted Frank Vitucci at PWI. I started doing stuff at PWI. PWI sent me to a couple of WrestleManias.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I did Rock and Hogan, that was probably one of the biggest things. I feel like, what's the number one thing people say when they get in wrestling? What's the goal? To get to WrestleMania. Well, I didn't wrestle, but as a photographer.
you got to WrestleMania and you got the cover shot on fucking PWI.
Yeah, that's the biggest show to get to.
You main evented.
That's right, brother. Thanks for the house.
Hey,
The Rock said thanks for the house to me.
I hope you don't mind. I'm going to be Chubby Dudley and eat a fucking cookie. So.
Go ahead.
There you go.
So when people ask me, I said that was the greatest match ever. Was it the greatest wrestling match? I love wrestling. You had to be there to get it. You know what I mean? However many people, there was like a buzz. And then for them to switch, Hogan was heel, Rock was face, and the switch, it was just.
Where was that at?
Toronto. Yeah.
Oh, really?
And then the next year with 19, I did with Seattle.
All right, so let me ask you this then. So now they're because I know you have you got a really good job.
Yeah.
They're sending you to fucking Toronto, Seattle.
Yeah.
Do you start getting those thoughts in your head again? Like, damn, I'd love to do this full time.
No, because I have a good job. And I learned this from John, and just know, like, they offered John a contract. And, John turned it down because we know how fickle wrestling can be. You know what I mean? If you're a single guy, no kids, sure.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I got a government job. I've been there for 26, 27 years. It's helped me in a lot of ways. When my daughter was born, she was sick. I went negative sick leave. No other job would have let me do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Let me work at home so I could be with my kids more and stuff like that. And, especially my one daughter too, talking about having your dream job. I said, if you can't make a living at your dream job, you can still have your dream job. But then you have a regular job that pays the bills. You know what I mean? So you
Such
necessarily
a parent thing to say. Such a parent thing to say.
I mean, it's true.
It is.
If you want to sing, look, you could still sing and do clubs, and you want to do comedy, you could do an open mic. Not to say not to follow your dreams, but if you don't make it, doesn't mean you can't do it.
Right.
You just got to have a real job to pay the bills. But they were paying me, like they paid the plane, they paid like a fee per day. They gave me money for food and stuff. I did a few shows for WWE. That was my biggest payday ever. I did the Yokozuna. Yeah.
How does that come to be? They saw your work from PWI and they contact you, or?
Well, Frank Vitucci used me at PWI. He left PWI and he went to work for WWE. I think he still works for them.
Okay.
So they had kind of these special assignment things. They still had their magazine. And they sent me the Yokozuna show. And the other one was I did a thing on Alpha Junior. I went to his football game at night on a Friday, and Saturday I went and watched him wrestle, took pictures. And they did a story on him, like he was a high school kid, 2-sport star. That was the most I ever got paid for wrestling. They paid me, I want to brag. They paid my expenses and $650 a night.
Wow.
So when I did the thing for Alpha, they paid me $650 to go to this football game and $650 to go to the show. I almost felt bad taking the money. I was like, wait, is this right?
That's probably more I made in the fucking business in 10 years.
I almost felt bad.
Did you have an actual check signed by Vince McMahon?
Nah, I can't. I don't know, probably somebody in finance signed it, or I don't remember that. I did the Yokozuna show, though. I met like all their family. Ada Johnson was there. Leah Mayavi. I mean, they had like a whole section of the family.
I can imagine.
That's the night I met The Undertaker. That didn't go too good either.
What happened?
Well, I'm just taking pictures, right?
Okay.
So I'm like the lackey. So I don't know if you know Keith Elliott Greenberg. He's a really nice guy.
No.
He's been writing for WWE since 1984.
Okay.
The magazine. He's done a lot of books with Blassie and a lot of guys. And I mean, he was like, you know how they say Howard Finkel was the first employee? I don't know. Maybe Keith was the second.
Okay.
And so he's going around like as a shoot, getting comments from people about Yokozuna.
Okay.
You're here doing a show. What are your thoughts about Yokozuna, this, that, the other? Everybody was great. Bradshaw. I remember Bradshaw. He was good. He said, if it was reversed, Yokozuna would be here doing this for me. Only happy to be here to help him and his family. But the main event that night was the APA against Kane and Undertaker.
Okay.
So Kane and the Undertaker come in, and Keith Greenberg goes up to get him a quote. And Taker's like, how about you give me a motherfucking chance to get in and get settled? I was like, whoa.
Okay.
I think he wants to give a quote.
Hell of a quote.
So a little bit later, we go up to him again. I'm like, you sure? And he's like, hey, Mark. I'm like, oh, man. Mark, would you like to give us? He goes, no, not right now. A little bit later. Third time.
That's telling you just leave me the fuck alone.
Third time, I said, dude, I don't think he wants to be bothered tonight. He goes, Mark, do you want to? He goes, no. He goes, well, look, if you don't want to give me the quote, just tell me. That's fine. No, I want to, I'm doing stuff, whatever. Da, 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 da. I don't think we ever got the quote from him. I was just a bystander, though. I didn't say nothing.
That's funny. So how long was your second voyage into the world of photography for the business?
I did that 99 to 2010. I started shooting ECWA for Kettner.
Okay.
The first Super 8 I did was in 2000.
Okay.
So it started in 97. I missed 97, 98, 99. 2000 was the first one I went to.
Okay.
And I did pictures for Jim and for PWI. And, Jim ran a tight ship.
Big time.
I didn't say too much there, observed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Jim was very meticulous, very organized, very structured.
Very.
Which I took with me, but not to the extent Jim did it. When Mike got ECWA.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just as far as lineup, like, Jim would send them guys, like, what he wanted them to do in a match.
Yeah.
And I knew the guys didn't want to do that. My main thing was, as long as you got the story and the finish and the idea. You know what I mean? But when we did it, we would do, like, I was like a stickler for certain things, like heels first.
Yeah.
Unless it's a title, challenger first.
Mm-hmm.
I just had certain things like introduce the guys as they come in the ring. Mm-hmm. But for the title, like, both guys come into the ring and then introduce. You know what I mean? Like a boxing match or Japan or something like that. I think in 10 years that we did shows, we must have used the table 3 times.
Wow.
So yeah, it was kind of structured. Didn't want everybody grabbing the mic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I worked for Kettner after the whole ECW thing. I ended up hooking up with Kettner. A friend of mine that I knew from the 80s, from the whole music world, he was a Mark for the business, and we reconnected. Like, I was at a wrestling show, and he was like in the crowd. I'm like, what the hell were you doing here? And he ended up hooking me up with Kettner, and I actually went like on a job interview to Kettner's apartment and sat with Kettner for like an hour or two, and we talked. And he gave me a shot to come in as his top heel, the feud with Boogie Woogie Brown, and this was in '93. After he calls me back and says, "All right, this is what I want to do. Can you come to my apartment? I want to introduce you to Boogie and go over some things with you." So I go there, and he tells me this is his plan. He had, and he didn't do this with just me and Boogie. He did this with everybody. He had a year in advance booked. He knew exactly. He would put. This is how good and, like you said, meticulous he was. He would book out his shows for his characters a year in advance, and not only that, he at that point he was still scripting every match out. Like, those guys he trained, they worked off of scripts. So he hands me a script. I'm like, what the hell's this?
Yeah.
He's like, this is how we do it. I'm like, okay, like, and I worked off a script for that year because that's how his guys worked, and it was weird, but it was also like when I would do those shows, like his guys in his locker room, they would all like gang up on me and like talk to me and like, what's it like working this and what's it like working that and what's it like working without a script. Like they didn't know because but they wanted to. You know,
Yeah.
it was a interesting but learning experience. But Kettner, you know, three important guys for in my career was most definitely number one, Goodhart. Number two, I gotta say Todd, and then number three is Kettner because Kettner gave me that shot. But Kettner not only helped me with that because his scripted matches really did teach me a lot about working matches. Um, but when I went into promoting, he helped me so much with my very first show, and he let some of his talent work my show, which he never did before. He never let his
Yeah.
talent work for anybody but himself. So Jim
Well,
was. I was surprised when he sold it to Mike.
well, a couple things happened. Um, I think just time.
Sure.
Also in 2009, um, CZW had Tournament of Death.
Okay.
And can you hear me okay? Because you sound a little low and muffled now. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm
No, I hear you fine.
all right. You're a little low and muffled, but I'm okay. I just want to know if you could hear me. Tournament of Death. Nick Gage almost bled to death.
Okay.
He cut
Was
an
this
artery. They had to get a helicopter to get him out of there.
was this in Delaware?
Yeah, I guess on
Okay.
DJ's farm.
Okay.
And so then they started the Combative Sports Commission. And now you had to pay for a license. And then you had to pay for a permit. And it was going to cost X amount of dollars extra a show.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know this had happened in Delaware.
Yeah.
Is it
And
still
I
like
think
that?
that was one of the things. I think Jim was just tired of running. When Mike started TWA, I told him, I said, I told Mike, don't run on the same day that you run. Even though it was New Jersey, Delaware, I wanted
Sure.
to be in Delaware to help Jim with the pictures.
Right.
And I said, I want to use some of the guys. And I said, I felt like that might be a plus for him getting the guys that work for him another. I didn't go through him,
Sure.
to book the guys, but I asked him if
For
he
the
minded.
Sure.
And then so certain guys like the Logan brothers, Chris Wilde, and Ooh La La, they would work for Jim. And then, they would work for TWA.
Okay. So when Mike started TWA, is that when did you book TWA too, or was just ECWA?
No, well, it was always me, Mike, and John.
Okay.
Mike, for the most part, didn't care. As long as he could do what he wanted
Right.
with his character.
Also, he could be the boss.
Yeah. As long as he could get in the ring and insult people and feel better. And so I guess like me and John. And then, sometimes the three of us would sit, it would be 2 out of 3. Or sometimes Mike would just say, nah, I don't want to do that. I want to do this.
Okay.
So Mike started that in like October 2009, and then he bought ECWA in like August 2010.
Okay.
So,
When he when he brought back to life the TWA, I mean, I personally was. I told you right before we went live that situation, but I was very happy to see the TWA come back to life. I really was, especially with Joel involved.
yeah, Joel was involved. It was, the first show was good because, when like Tony said, we did the thing with Tony and did the thing like Breaker put him out. And Tony had a lot of family and friends. They all had T-shirts.
Yeah, that was amazing.
It was kind of like a Rocky comeback type
Absolutely.
thing. We had Al Snow the first show, I think.
Landell was there.
Landell too. Yeah, we did a thing where Landell said he was TWA champion for like 15 years. He was never beat,
Right.
and then Glenn wrestled him and won. We used Carino for a while. We did that thing with Carino and Stetson,
Right.
where Carino said he was a TWA fan, which he was,
Sure.
as far as I know. And Tony was old, time to hang it up.
Mm-hmm.
This, that, and the other. So
When it goes into this end now, like you've crossed over again. So you went from photographer, then you crossed over, and now you're in the locker room, and you're a referee, and you're in the ring, and then you cross back. Even though you regressed in a ways, you still kind of progressed, where you were a photographer, but you amplified yourself beyond belief, where you're doing a lot of work now, PWI, WWE, etc. Now you're
whatever I did, I had fun doing it.
right.
I was a kid, watched wrestling on TV, and just wanting to be a part of it, wanting to be involved. Whatever things I did, I guess small things compared to others. I had fun doing it. I'm glad I did it. Met a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, like we talked about, Facebook memories, these things,
Sure.
come up, and not too many people get to do or be a part of something that they love like that.
Right.
Even on a small scale, even if it's not making a living off of it.
Yeah.
Even today, guys that are making money, when they're making money big, they got to be investing. They got to be looking into life after wrestling. It's not, you got to have your head together.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point, because look at all the guys that we looked up to on TV. Then we're like you're sharing the ring with these guys, and how many of those guys were on very hard times and penniless and did not have their heads together, and just bad situations all the way around.
Yeah, these guys, they don't have nothing. They never had whatever. I guess retirement,
Mm-hmm.
or they didn't save. A lot of times in the old days, I guess even more in the 70s, things was cash.
Right.
I guess there were some people that did invest and take care of themselves, but it seems like that's the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah.
And they were basically like living like gypsies. You know
Yeah.
what I
Totally.
mean?
Totally.
On the road, working, getting paid cash.
Mm-hmm.
Going out drinking, having fun, partying,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah. So if you're gonna get involved today, you got to know. You have a certain shelf life, whether it's your physical body or your worth.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a draw? How long are you going to be a draw?
Right.
How long are you going to be used?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's life after that.
Yeah.
So anybody that could do it right, and parlay it into other things, and like John Cena movies or different
Mm-hmm.
guys, Rock and stuff like that. I mean, that's great. I mean, I guess that's like the ultimate.
I mean, that's the way.
To do
The
it,
way.
get
The
paid
way.
well, and have life after.
Yeah. So when you start then becoming a booker now, now you're looking into a whole truly another side of the business, and that's where it gets really like all of a sudden it's like, oh, everybody wants to be your best friend.
Yeah. You can't make everybody happy, you know. Everybody thinks it's an ego-driven business, so you have to think highly of yourself.
Yeah.
You have to have confidence in yourself. Um, but realistically, a show, how many spots are you looking at?
Right.
20 versus how many guys are looking to work, you
20,000.
know? And everybody thinks they're the best, the most deserving, you know. So it's tough, you know. So many people contact you, it,
Hmm.
you know, and you got a job and you got kids, you got a life too. You know what I mean? It's overwhelming. Um, some guys you use, some guys you never use, some guys we had some guys talking to us for years and then eventually used them. A
Wow.
lot of times it's circumstance. Somebody left, somebody got hurt. A lot of times it's not personal. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sometimes it's timing. Sometimes you're looking for something specific. We were looking for a guy like a model character, you know. Um, so I'm not going to get a super heavyweight Vader type guy. You know
Right.
what I mean? So sometimes if you're looking for something specific, you kind of narrow down who you have to pick from. And yeah, you want to use guys that are going to be loyal.
Hmm.
You want to use guys, um, you know, if they say they're going to do it, they're going to keep their word
Right.
and, you know, do it. But so many things happen. People get other opportunities. People get hurt. But that's when it gets interesting sometimes because when you have to adjust things, sometimes after you adjust it, what you come out with was better than what you had planned originally
Right.
anyway.
Right.
You know?
Did you enjoy being a booker?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I also like too at the shows um, to try to go out and watch the show with the
Hmm.
fans. I like that a lot. I remember it was TWA at the skate zone, and we had Shockwave the first time, Shockwave the robot
Okay.
against Ooh La La, which you know is all comedy.
Sure.
And just to sit there, just look around and just see everybody having fun.
Hmm.
You know, that was like fun for me to watch
That
people
was the one
enjoy the
thing
show.
I loved about um, booking was when you see when you're writing that stuff out. I mean, back then when we would write stuff out on paper, when you would write stuff out on paper and have that vision in your head, and then when you see it happen and come
Yeah,
together the way you wanted, it's such an amazing feeling.
yeah, yeah. I try to watch stuff. A lot of times busy, you know,
Yeah,
it's busy, um, and doing stuff that wasn't, you know, helping Mike with other stuff that wasn't show stuff, match stuff,
sure.
whatever. But I always tried to listen at the least if I couldn't watch.
Hmm.
You know, those guys would say to just see my match. I'd be like, no, but I heard the crowd. They liked it. That's all counts.
Right.
You know, you could have people say your match was awful, but if the people there like it and want to come back and see more,
That's it.
you know, people talk about guys that made big names couldn't work. Ultimate Warrior, you know, an example. People wanted to see him.
Right.
Didn't matter, you know. And that's the frustrating thing too, is because there are a lot of talented people, and not just in wrestling, but in any business. There's people
Hmm.
that talented that don't make it for
Whatever reason.
whatever reason. And especially in wrestling, um, yeah, it's good to be talented and it's good to look like a wrestler, and it's good to be in shape, and it's good to have stamina, and it's good to know how to work. But people have to be into you. Like I said, like Rock Hogan.
Yeah.
It sounds cliche, the it factor.
Mm-hmm.
You can't teach charisma.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And you can't manufacture it. You can't like all this work done. Let's do that and recreate it. Don't work like that.
No.
Look at the thing with Austin with 316.
Mm-hmm.
You can't plan that.
No.
The best you can do is be smart enough to recognize when it's happening and then to go with it.
Right. Did you ever see yourself becoming a booker in the business? Or have any like
Nah, I never had thought about it. When Mike wanted to do TWA, I said, "You're crazy." I said, I said, do you really want to deal with that aggravation?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because Mike was a wrestler in TWA and stuff.
Sure.
And but he hadn't been around the indies. He wasn't involved.
He didn't even did he work.
Mike knows business and this and that, but he didn't know who was who and guys like that. Like, John told him all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept blowing him off. I said, "You're crazy to want to do that. It's a lot. It's it's like when people get a pet, they think it's like a stuffed animal. Taking care of a pet is work. You're going to have a show. See, I'm the type of person that I'm not going to do it if I'm not going to do it right.
Yeah.
I said, like when I was doing the refereeing, I'd write notes and stuff down and stuff like that. I'm not going to do something unless I do it like all the way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can run shows and not be all the way and do and have whatever, but that's just not how I am. And Mike was like, "Well, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it anyway." And I was like, I guess I'll do it. He said he always liked, when we would talk about shows and what was on TV, he said he always liked my ideas and stuff like that. So, not a lot in wrestling is new. Stuff's recycled.
Absolutely.
Well, so it's just like movies. You have a certain amount of themes. It's just different actors, characters, places where things happen, but you have certain themes.
Here and there, it's all the same theme.
We did the invasion thing. We did the thing with the girls and the valet.
Mm-hmm.
With the guy turns, goes back with the guy.
Right.
Like the Texas Precious stuff. I love that stuff.
I mean, that's what I did when I was booking LEW. I rehashed and went through old angles like in my head that made me pop, and I would rehash them, and they fucking worked. It worked. You would see the pop and the crowd reaction. Well, it worked for a reason.
People still go to see the movies. Like I said, there's a lot of God. It's so bad they reboot movies.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you don't get more of a duplication than doing a reboot. But you'll see a movie. It's kind of like a Die Hard movie. You know what I mean? Or it's this kind of movie. Or
how about though? Like when as a booker now, like now you're looking at booking what truly became probably the indie, indie tournament or indie show of the year, the Super 8 tournament that Jim Kettner had built up to this amazing tournament. And I attended quite a few of them. And I remember just being in awe with my mouth open, like
Yeah.
with some of the stuff I saw. And so many of those guys becoming huge stars in this business. And now it's like kind of dropped onto your lap to like, here you go, Joe, book the Super 8. Like,
Yeah.
do you feel the
It
pressure of that? Like, stress?
well,
Like,
it got harder because in the heyday of it, you didn't have internet, you didn't have social media. Um,
right.
the first one we did was in 2011,
Okay.
and then we had Austin Aries, and I called him, and he said when he did the 2004 Super 8, he had never wrestled outside of Minnesota.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
think about it. It was easier in the earlier years to find guys that hadn't been exposed yet
Right.
because they're the internet and the social media and stuff. So
Right.
now it was a little bit harder to discover guys that,
Hmm.
haven't been out there yet.
Right.
And
But
then you had stuff like
also,
Ring of Honor,
yeah,
which I really think Ring of Honor kind of piggybacked off of the Super 8, the
I, I,
style. I know,
I,
I
I
know
could
they
see
talk
that.
about the King of Indies and stuff like that, but um, Rob and Gabe and Doug, they were at Kettner shows.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The first Ring of Honor show, about 3/4 of the guys were from the
There,
Super 8
there
from
was back when
2000, 2001.
back when I was working for Kettner. That's when they started coming around, checking out Kettner stuff, and they were put in a battle royal. They wanted to work a battle royal, and Kettner put them in a battle royal. And I remember like throwing them out and all, taking care of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was a little bit harder. I mean, um, you had Dragon Gate, you had Ring of Honor. I mean, when I saw the first Super 8s, like 2000, 2001, first ones I saw,
Okay.
there wasn't all these promotions,
Yeah.
you know. Um, a ton of promotions had opened up in New York by the
Okay.
time we started running. And they'd have people from New York, North Jersey, Virginia come. There was less
Hmm.
shows of those type, less wrestling, less wrestlers of those type,
Right.
like the high spot type guys. They were high spots, but there was psychology to it. It was a big
Sure.
difference. They weren't, when Petey Williams hit the Canadian Destroyer, that was it. You know what I mean? They
Right.
weren't getting up from that. But that's what happens in wrestling. You go to the well again and again and again, and then the well's dry. And
Yeah.
now you've done this, but you can't do this no more. Now you got to go to the next level, you know?
Right.
And it gets to a point where you got to go back to the basics,
Hmm.
you know? Which is what you always hear guys go to WWF. You tell them, slow down, slow down. And yeah, because you'll burn yourself out, injure yourself. Um, but it was a lot of fun, the Super 8s. The first one, that was like the first person I talked to was Tommaso.
Okay.
Because Kettner had him in 2009 and 10, and he went to the finals and lost. And he was going to have him in the third time and win.
Okay.
So Kettner asked us to do that. I was like, yeah, I love Tommaso, you know?
Did at any time beside that, did you like consult with Kettner on things for booking wise or
No, I mean, that initial stuff, he had that thing going with Tommaso. I was a fan of Tommaso anyway.
okay.
Was not a problem, but no, I mean, we used most of his guys, and then for different reasons, guys left, guys came in.
Sure.
Um, I mean, we used everybody that he had on the first show and first shows, but Mike did some things. I guess they didn't care for.
Mhm.
I know Mike, brought in DJ Hyde, but
Right.
Mike was kind of like that shocked stuff too. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it was the Super 8s were fun, and the first one was Tommaso and Adam Cole in the finals.
Okay.
Aries lost in the semifinals to Adam Cole. I figure Adam Cole would get a rub beating Aries. And then you have him lose to Tommaso. So Tommaso wins, but Adam Cole doesn't come out looking too bad, having beaten
Mhm.
Aries. You know what I mean? Try to spread the wealth a little bit. Um, but that was a really good tournament, one of my favorites. But we had a lot of good ones. A lot of good guys out there. I think there has been a little bit of a change. CZW still running, but it's not like it used to be. I'd
Right.
say the same thing for Ring of Honor. You have other good indies out there like MCW, ECWA still running.
Right.
March
Yeah.
23rd.
Is
Talking
that
about
their Super 8? When's their next Super 8 coming up?
March 23rd. I think
Okay.
it's the 27th Super 8. And your old buddy Greg Spitz is in it.
That's amazing. Greg, I love Greg Spitz, and I mean we go way back. It's 20 plus years, and um, he's a guy who from day one just loves the fucking business,
Yeah.
and he gets it. He gets it.
Super 8 is in I always get the town. They call it something different.
Marlboro. I saw Marlboro on the flyer or
Yeah, but I always call it Morganville. I don't know why.
something.
At the Jersey dugout.
Okay, well, Morganville. That Morganville for some reason I want to say is like West Virginia or something.
No, I think there's Morganville, New
Sure.
Jersey. I think it's kind of borderline there at Marlboro, but
Okay.
ECWA is a fun show. A lot of kids at the show. They love the show. Super 8 still. I've always loved tournaments. Crockett Cup.
Agreed.
Before the King of the Ring, there was the Wrestling Classic.
Mhm.
I love that idea of that tournament, and then the different things that can happen. A couple years ago in the finals, we had a very good professional wrestler. Trying to think, he was part of the tag team and Chikara. Um, he had like the baseball mask. I can't remember what his gimmick name was, but
Oh, I
he wrestled Killian McMurphy in the finals and he got hurt,
okay.
and he was supposed to win. We had to stop the match, and Killian won.
Wow.
It was totally unplanned. That was like a first.
Hmm.
But we got good guys in the tournament this year. It'll be
I'm
fun
going
to
to
see Greg, our champion Darius Carter. He's really good.
Are you involved with any of the booking of ECWA anymore? Because I know there's a
No,
new
I
one
just kind of
now.
help out here and there.
Okay.
Ryan Cavanaugh has it.
I don't
He
see. I
pretty
don't
much
know.
handles. What's that?
I don't know Ryan.
No, he is friends with Carino. He did World One. Remember World One?
Mm-hmm.
Keener used to do World One a lot.
Yeah.
And,
I never met him, but I remember World One.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Okay.
Ryan. Him and his friends, they're big wrestling fans, just like we all are,
Sure.
having fun. But good show. It's a fun show. This will be, I guess, not my 27th. I guess my 24th. I missed the first 3.
Let me ask you this, and you can opt out of this answer if you'd like, but did Kettner get upset when you guys moved the ECWA from Delaware to Jersey?
I don't know. I think there was a few other things maybe he wasn't happy about. Wasn't directly said, but yeah, as far as moving, I definitely didn't want to do that. I understand what Mike was going for.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But it was tough. It was a tough time in Delaware because there was a lot of other promotions popping up. You know, like I said, the early Super 8s, there wasn't a lot of promotions.
Yeah.
You're sharing the fan base.
Jim was
and if there's guys that want to get booked, can't get booked, they start their own school, they start their own promotion. You know what I'm saying? It starts to dissipate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The fan base, and it starts to spread. And when Mike did Jersey, there weren't as many shows in Jersey. They started popping up more after he did Jersey. So, yeah, I don't know that Kettner, you know, we didn't have a lot of contact with him after he sold initially. I saw him recently last year at the Super 8. I talked.
How's he doing? I mean, I haven't seen Jim in years.
He looks good to me. He looks the same.
Good.
You know, seems like everything's doing good. Ryan, did like a little presentation, made him a replica of the belt, presented it to him and stuff. So yeah. I think he appreciated it. That was pretty cool. And,
if he's there at the Super 8 and you see him, please tell him I was asking for him. Seriously.
Oh yeah. I hope he is at this one.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
I would say he probably will be, unless there's something specific going on that he can't make it. But
a funny, you know, Jim had that connection with WWF at the time.
Yeah.
It was WWF, and I'll never forget WrestleMania 10 at Madison Square Garden. He calls me up in the morning and says, "Hey, Bay, I got 4 tickets. WrestleMania 10, the Garden. You want to go?" I'm like, yeah. He's like, "All right, you're driving. Come pick me up." I'm like, okay. He's like, "Boogie's coming too." He's like, "You think Frank wants to go?" I'm like, I don't know, I guess. So I call Frank Cody up, and next thing I know, I had a little Geo tracker. It's me, Kettner, Boogie Woogie Brown, and Frank Cody in my little Geo tracker driving to Madison Square Garden. And we went and saw WrestleMania 10 together, and it was so much. The ride alone was so much fun. We talked wrestling for 2 hours up and 2 hours back, and the show I thought sucked, except for it was what was it? Razor Ramon. Who was it? Ramon and Michaels ladder match. That was like iconic ladder match that really changed things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Bret Hart and Yokozuna was the main event. Yeah.
Yeah, Boogie was great too.
Yeah, man. I love that guy. He's such a beautiful, beautiful human being.
I remember he had Boogie, Moolah, and Mae Young against Ooh La, Mozart Fontaine, and I can't remember the third.
That's hysterical.
I meant Moolah and Mae Young. They were a couple characters.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple characters, exactly. One other thing, ECWA related, you know, Super 8 related as well. You did something that I thought was pretty brilliant and started doing, was because this is a major thing that's changed in the business over the last 10 years, I'll say, maybe 8 years. The women have come on in this business. Look, let's face it, and I'm gonna, I'll shoot, and I'm just gonna be honest and straight up here. for many, many years in this business, the women were basically rats. They were treated like rats, and that's how they were treated and looked at. And they've stepped up and really proved themselves and busted their ass. And people like Joe and many other people throughout the country and the world in the business have given them a true chance. And Joe created the women's Super 8. And I went and saw one of them in Delaware, and I thought it was amazing. I was blown away by some of the talent you guys had there.
Yeah, I think that was Mike's idea to do the girl Super 8. But growing up in the 80s, WWF, I guess even Crockett, even less.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember WWF, it was kind of like a women's match, a midgets match,
Right.
It was kind of like an afterthought, or like
Heidi Lee Morgan or somebody as a filler.
A gimmick or something. Oh, yeah, and don't get me wrong, there were some great girls. Yeah, Heidi. We had her host one of the women's Super 8s.
Nice.
Yeah, that.
Like,
I got a funny story from Matt. I have to tell you that off the air.
People like Heidi, though, a true talent in this business that never got her just due or respect.
Yeah.
And these girls today that are getting that, they don't realize somebody like Heidi Lee, they should really, I hope they're giving her credit and looking up to her, because.
Well, yeah, the women now today that are involved, it really has it's like an explosion taking on life of its own. Just so many, and if anything, they are hard workers.
Yeah,
they put so much effort into it, and it's it's a good, that's just evolution of stuff. It was mostly guys and stuff, or like you said, you had a match or two, or you had valets, but yeah, there's a lot of, and we've had a lot of them in the girls tournaments over the years. So you have to have some variety too. I think that's one of the things with wrestling, is that it gets overexposed. Like I said, they go to the well too often.
Right.
It's too much. It's whatever. You have to break things up a little bit. Things get tired and old. You know? So I think it's good that there's more women involved today.
I agree.
More variety of matches.
I think, and I think I said this yesterday on my Facebook page. I do not watch. I just start. I'm starting now to slowly get sucked back into this whole fucking crazy business. But I think, in my eyes and opinion right now, the biggest star in WWE is Bayley.
You're kind of a little bit low. Who was it? Biggest stars?
Biggest star in WWE is Bayley.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like her a lot. And
take The Rock out of it. I mean, The Rock's just another. He doesn't count.
They had her go over the Rumble, so she'll be featured, on WrestleMania. And I think she definitely deserves it.
Yeah. All right, I got a few more questions for you before I get into the viewers' questions. Who were some of the biggest dicks that you ref for?
I think I mentioned some of them. Well, everything's perspective, but I told
in your eyes
that we're not a fan of my
of your work.
There's that match with David, San Martino, and Terry Taylor wasn't a fan.
That's funny. Where's Terry Taylor today? What's he up to?
Is he working TNA? I think he was.
Is he?
Or he was working TNA.
Okay.
Or is he working WWE? I don't know. I lost track. He's been behind the scenes for years.
Interesting. Okay. All right. As a referee, I'm going to ask you as your three jobs in the world of pro wrestling. First up, photographer. What are your proudest shots that you took in the wrestling world?
It's definitely the Rock and Hogan.
Wow.
WrestleMania 18. Yeah.
Referee, proudest match.
Referee, I guess it was the Gilbert and Cactus match. I sold so good.
And as a booker,
I guess it was the first Super 8 we did that Tommaso won, which was 2011.
wow.
Yeah.
Which out of the three do you love the best to do? Like if you had to choose one, which would you rather do?
That's tough. I mean, the WrestleMania Rock and Hogan was just surreal. I guess if I had to pick, I guess it would be the Super 8, though.
You know what's crazy? I'm going to say hold that thought. I got to run, and I'll be right back. Look at that. I went 4 hours with Stetson. I did have to take a pre-pee break. 2 hours. I couldn't take it no more.
I'm on my second bottle of water, so.
All right. If you were ever asked to go back into the business again, would you do it?
I'm doing what? Anything or
anything? And is there anything you'd say no to out of the three jobs?
I mean, a lot of it's putting the shows together. I would do. The reffing physically, I don't know. I'd have to drop a couple pounds.
When's the last time you actually refereed?
I guess it was. Well, no, I did special guest referee.
I have a
Ooh La La and referee Phil Sly in Woodbury. Maybe that was like around 2017, 18.
I have it right here.
And I was sucking wind.
All right, let's go through these viewer comments here. Jeremy Cornetti says, "Hey guys,
what's up, Jeremy?
grab your Edmonds cakes and get ready.
I'm a
Easy.
tasty cake guy, but
Yeah, come on. Yeah, down here in Nashville, we have a very limited supply of Edmonds. Like we don't get the number one. My number one favorite Edmonds is the chocolate fudge cake with a nice
yeah, I like that. Yeah,
with a nice glass of milk. Yeah, we don't get that here. All right, let me.
tasty cake's not the same as it used to be when I was a kid, though.
Nah, they get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Quality's going down.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Phil Sly.
Oh, here, I can't wait to see this.
What's up, guys? I was lucky enough to be involved in a match with Joe. He put the Stripes shirt on one last time in 2014.
Wow. I didn't think it was. I thought it was like 17 or 18.
So it was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, and Phil won too. It pained me to hit the mat the third time. And Mr. Ooh La La had to leave ECWA, and then Mr. Wee mysteriously appeared.
I'll tell you what. I give Ooh La La all the friggin' credit in the world. That fucking guy is still going, and I know he has no end in sight.
Yeah. Yeah, he's on the Super 8 show. By the way, I love Phil Sly, but Mike sucks.
Mike has not commented.
I do love Phil. I met him when we started doing TWA. I didn't know him all the years back, from original TWA. We did some great stuff with Phil as the heel ref. And I mean, we were originally going to do it with Keener as the heel. And then we did it with Phil. And then Phil had his neck brace on for like 3 years. And,
I'm sure he loved that.
I really had fun with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love Phil too. Phil, and I've said this the last few shows with Johnny and Tony, I should say. Phil's like the Philadelphia wrestling historian. I love his.
He is. People think I'm a historian. Phil really knows his things, watches a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially the Southern stuff from the past. Yeah. Mike knows nothing other than WWF. Nothing.
That's funny.
I loved Crockett and stuff, but yeah, Phil is like a historian. Yeah.
Phil says, Joe's a great guy. We both love playing video games, and we both have a problem with Mike Bruno Tartaglia. That's funny.
Mike is a love-hate relationship.
Nick Infante, 1992. What was it like working with Terry Funk in ECW?
Yeah, it was just Terry was one of those guys, nice guy, but when he went in the ring, he flipped that switch. He was in the zone.
Yeah.
And I mean, the best I could say, unpredictable. I would say the same for Abby. I never worked with the Sheik, but I'd say the same for him. I was in there trying to make, learning and try not to screw up.
Sure.
But even before that, just watching myself, especially when they started throwing the chairs and that kind of stuff. I've been involved with some incidents with Terry, but I didn't even remember. But I did ref a match or two of his ECW. I think he did a match. Remember the Canadian Wolfman?
Yeah, Dudley.
Yeah, I think I did a match with Terry with him. It was pretty standard.
Yeah.
I won't say squash match, but
Terry let him get a couple shots in.
Yeah, but Terry, I took pictures of Terry and Hanson for Dennis
Okay.
at Cooper River. Remember that when they went into the river?
Okay, so
I got a picture of that.
I remember seeing that in the magazines. That was
Yeah.
like either right before I got in the business or very early on. But I do remember that. Okay, so that was your shots.
They tried taking pictures ringside. Not even pictures or being a ref, but I was doing photos with Stan Hansen with that cowbell. He can't see.
Wow.
So you better watch out. You know what I mean? You're going to be eating that cowbell. But yeah, they went into that was crazy. Kamala was on that show. Pit Bulls. I can't remember who Kamala worked.
What's it like now when you look back on the things you did in the business, especially refereeing when you were actually in the ring with these guys, when you're in the ring with a Terry Funk and you're Abby and Cactus and Eddie, and when you start seeing like guys are no longer with us, what's it like to look back and see those experiences you got to share and live?
Just life in general, man. We're getting old. I remember thinking my parents were in their 40s. They were old. I'm 52 now.
Right.
But as a fan, and I'll say the same thing for the video games because I'm big with video games.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in a great time and era that is never going to be duplicated again.
Yeah.
You're not going to have another Terry Funk. You're not going to have another Stan Hansen. But the video games, Atari and this and that, the things that I guess I'm into and the things that I enjoy, it was a great time. I'm big on 80s. I'm stuck in the 80s. An ex-girlfriend, that's one of the reasons she broke up with me. I was stuck in the 80s. I'm like, I'd rather be in the 80s with Miss Pac-Man and in the present with you.
Oh, man.
But it was just, I don't know if it's everybody, like they had that feeling about the time they grew up and nostalgia. I guess it is, right? Because nostalgia sells.
Dude, hey, look, I'm with you. Like, I get it. Like, I think, like, I think I'm very thankful for being able to be born in 1970 to experience, like, some of my favorite things that I experienced in the 70s are still my favorite things today.
Yep.
And that's Evel Knievel, The Planet of the Apes, and Kiss. My three favorite things in life. So I got to live and experience those things, and I never got to become an ape like I wanted to, but I got to become, I'm friends with the Knievel family. I got to interview Robbie Knievel.
Oh, awesome.
I've gotten to see Kiss 20 times, so I got to do all these crazy things, but I think, and then the 80s, like you said, the 80s were just unbelievable.
Yeah, I grew up in South Philly. I know it's not the same. I loved growing up there. Just loved the times of the 80s. And, with wrestling, I guess I sound like the old guy, but, the territories especially, and I really caught the tail end of that. Because by 85, a lot of them were going by the wayside.
Right.
But, it's definitely changed and evolved. And I know, like, a lot of people my age will say for the worse.
Sure.
I still try to watch and enjoy it, but it's different. Better or worse, who's to say, but it's different.
All right, Kevin. I think Kevin is a newbie to the channel. Who did Cactus wrestle in that barbed wire match he was talking about? Eddie Gilbert.
Eddie Gilbert, yeah.
Yes. All right. Referee Phil Sly is back. Question for both of you guys. Memories of working at the Aztec Club on Delaware Avenue in 1992. Bay, you worked in a tag match with, wow, Super Ninja against Super Destroyers. Why did I, wait, what was
I wasn't on that show for whatever reason. I don't know.
What was the club on the outside? That wasn't the Aztec Club, right? The
Maybe
Aztec.
I was on that show. Now I think of it, I think I was.
Wait, there was the outside and the inside. For some reason,
Didn't they have the pool? Didn't Snuka get thrown in the pool or something?
Yeah, but I don't think that was the Aztec Club. I think it was like two separate clubs. Like the outside was something different, but the inside was the Aztec Club. And
I was never a big club guy. Was there a safari club?
Yeah, I forget the name. But I'm trying to remember why I had to work with Super Ninja. I'm guessing HD Rider couldn't make it for some reason. And Super Ninja was John Rock. That's a
really?
Yeah. Whatever happened to him?
Does
anybody know where John Rock is? I should ask Hot Body.
No.
That's somebody I haven't seen or talked to in 30 years. He was a good guy too. I used to talk to him a lot. It was
Bamboo Club?
What the hell was the name of the club? Yo, Phil, come on.
Aztec Club was the inside name.
Yeah.
I'm getting all these messages. Mike saying I'm boring. Phil saying
Oh, Mike, go scratch, you fucking son
Wait
of
till I get off of this. He's gonna get an ear beaten. I'm gonna eviscerate him.
But yeah, let me say this. Bruno, as much as I love to break your balls, I do love you. Seriously, I do. I
always say Mike's a good guy deep down. Deep down. You gotta go through layers like an onion.
All right, this is another newbie to the channel. Davin's Digital Den. You want to stay somewhere you feel wanted and appreciated. This is when we were talking about your last days at ECW. Let's see what else he says here. Besides repping, what have you done? Anything else? You didn't do anything else in the ring wise, just repping. You didn't do like ring announcing or anything like that.
Nah. I mean, I did, for ECWA when I was the matchmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Mike was like the evil management. Yeah. And I never wanted to do it. Although Mike and John says, "Oh, you love it." When you have an evil owner, you need somebody to counterbalance them and say, "No, we're not doing that. You're not getting away with it." So I had to do it. So it was like babyface.
You didn't like playing the character role or anything?
What's that?
You didn't like playing the character role or anything in that?
Yeah. Yeah, like I would have to come in, get on the mic and, counteract stuff Mike said or make matches or stuff like that. So
right.
I mean, nothing major, but,
This is awesome. Great stories.
I know who that is.
Wait, let's see this. Tell him Kate and David said hello. Said hi.
Kate's my cousin.
Oh, okay.
And Steve's her new fiance. Congratulations.
Congrats.
He's getting involved in the wrestling business.
Don't do it. Stop. Run away. Get away.
Trying to make his way in. There's a picture of him and Jim Mitchell. And it looks like father and son.
Really?
Sinister Minister, Senior and Junior.
That's funny. All right, Nick Infante's back. That must have been something to see yourself in the intro of the ECW.
I guess that's going to be my big claim to fame now.
Hey, you're on the WWE Network.
I want residuals from WWE.
You know what's funny about that? I was very close to Carluzzo, and we used to hang out like 4 or 5 nights a week. And he used to holler at me every fucking night. And he would say, "You're on residuals. They're selling DVDs of the Dudley Boys, and it's got your images all over it. And you're on pay-per-views, and they're this and that. You should be suing them. Sue them, sue them, sue them." Did you ever think of suing anybody?
Hey, they'll depending on what the lawsuit is. Apparently, in recent news, they'll pay.
They'll pay,
They
right?
only pay half
Hey, half is better than none.
or 1/3.
It might be a higher payday than your photography payday. Love you, Joe, from Kate.
Love you, Katie.
All
Yeah,
right.
Kate's making the shows with Steve, and they're getting around.
Too late. Been in since 2016.
Yeah.
It's too late now. He's in too deep. It's way too deep.
You know, for me, it's the same thing. Wrestling, the video games. It's just part of who you are.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's just in your blood. Whether I'm doing anything active or not. And you never know. Never say never.
He might be my long lost father.
He's talking about Jim Mitchell. They got the same look.
That's funny.
Yeah, what's funny? Did you ever see a little Jim Mitchell had his was a pen? Remember that PWI used to do pen pals?
Yes.
And they had Jim Mitchell when he was 10 years old in PWI as a pen pal, like the older magazines.
And it was him?
Huh?
Was it him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Isn't it funny?
Everybody read the magazines.
Oh my God. Do they still
Again,
make
that's another 80s thing, you know. I
Do they
used
still
to
do PWI or
it used to be 4 a month. PWI,
Inside Wrestling?
Inside Wrestling, The Wrestler.
What was the other one? Action or something? What was it?
Well,
USA?
Napolitano had his,
Wrestling USA.
and then there was Main Event.
Mm-hmm. What was Napolitano's?
Napolitano had Main Event, then Sandy had it.
Okay.
Napolitano had his own line, I think.
Is he still alive?
Oh, George?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's still shooting.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. God bless him. Good for him.
I remember going to 10th and Momenton.
Okay.
To Gloria's Sweet Shop. And to the newsstand on Broad and Oregon. Like 2-3 times a month.
I used to go. There was a on Broad Street, right, where the McDonald's used to be. There was that little strip of stores. It was a Rite Aid that had an amazing magazine collection. You would first walk in, it was to the left. And I remember, like, when I would go down there to my aunts and uncles for like a weekend or whatever, I'd always go over there and buy like music magazines and wrestling magazines.
I used to love going to the newsstand.
Yeah. Yep. Good times. Good times. Crazy. So, what do you, there you go. Phil said it. Sports Review Wrestling was the fourth magazine they did.
Sports Review. That's right.
That's what it was.
See, Phil's a
historian. That's it.
I would have thought of it later. I'm starting to lose it. Forgetting, some of the stories and stuff I'm good, but like I'll try to think of an actor or name of them. I get like a mental block. I got to Google.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
That was probably that bump from Abby.
Yeah, well, when you're getting hung, you get like shortage of oxygen to the brain, and
oxygen in my brain.
It slows things down. And working with Bruno for 10 years had to not help.
Oh my God. We're like the odd couple.
So as I'm going along and doing this whole walk down memory lane with all these ECW people like yourself and Johnny, Tony, Ernesto, Glenn, it's gonna be. I don't even know who I have next. I have somebody in the wings waiting. I need to contact tomorrow, but I would love to, and I do plan to, hopefully, and we've talked about this in the past weeks. Really, I want to do a TWA reunion because I think as this builds, and I want to get it built a little bigger. I truly feel Joel and Tri-State deserve their just due and credit, and people really need to know and understand where everything came from.
Definitely. I'll go back even further. The fan club and the radio show with Carmella, and then
Right.
Joel, Ringmasters, and TWA.
I need to get Carmella on here too at some point.
Yeah. And again, for me specifically, because I didn't have cable, it opened up a whole new world.
Sure.
I mean, the TWA shows that Joel had, I mean, like I said, Landell, Austin Idol, Abby, Sheik, Sullivan, Lawler, Funk, Jimmy Valiant, and Hadrian Street.
Yeah.
I mean, Owen Hart, he was going to have, he did Dr. Death and Terry Gordy, Lawler, Kerry, David, Sabisco. I mean, anybody that wasn't signed,
he was doing.
And if you remember at that time too, I'm pretty sure commission was not high on blood.
No.
And he brought that back, and I could talk for hours about the blood. I told you my feelings of me bleeding. I don't mind other people bleeding.
Yeah, right.
But I always looked at the blood as like a low blow, a ref bump, a chair shot.
Mm-hmm.
You do it in as needed for maximum effect.
Mm-hmm.
To have somebody bleed just to bleed versus having a first blood match or a bunkhouse match. And I always felt the match shouldn't be about the blood or the weapons. The match is about the feud and the animosity. It's about Dusty and Tully, not about the barbed wire or the blood. But that just reaches that climax to that.
Well, how about Joel?
I think a lot of, I don't want to, I guess, talk about what other people like that maybe I don't, but like as far as like the ultra violent and stuff, it always seemed like it was more about the blood and the weapons,
right,
and not about the guys and the feud and the animosity between them,
right.
It was like backwards.
No, you're absolutely right. It did become more about with the ultra violent stuff. It was about the violent, and just there was nothing about. There was no rhyme or reason to it. It was just about how violent.
It wasn't like Magnum and Tully and the I Quit, or Dusty and Tully and the barbed wire, or
right.
And I guess ECW to an extent too. Things got crazy, but I think
it did. But
it was more.
There was always a feud based around it. It wasn't just like, all right, let's just throw two guys on a scaffold to throw them 30 feet off.
Yeah.
So, well, Joe, this has been amazing, man. So good to see you and talk to you too, man.
Same here, man. Long time getting old, brother.
As we both have the white in our beards now. We both have beards.
Yeah.
It's too funny.
I've been wanting to shave. I shaved a couple months ago and I grew it back. Mostly lazy.
Come on, man. Where's that Gigolo at?
I don't know.
So if there's any women out there that like wrestling, video games, unshaven men.
No, I got a girlfriend.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I thought you did, but then I thought you said she broke up with you.
Nah. That was one of the other girls or something.
Oh,
No, I said the one girl said I was stuck in the 80s.
oh, okay.
It's like, what's
Good
wrong
for
with the 80s?
They don't get it.
Yeah, so you'll be 54 this year, right? So
Yeah,
I'll be
man.
53.
Yeah. You're the day before me?
Yeah, I'm the 24th of April.
Yeah.
Should I put my Cash App up if anybody wants to send a birthday gift?
How about just down here you see it, they write it on their car for their birthday or bachelorette party. They write their Cash App or their Venmo on their car.
Yeah, I want to get a PlayStation 5 so I could use the money.
How about this? Cash App or Venmo? We'll send it to Bruno to promote a wrestling show.
I don't have Cash App, so
uh,
I'm a PayPal Zelle guy.
I don't have Zelle. I have PayPal. I have PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo.
Yeah. See
Too
all these new ways to spend your money.
See that? What's this? Phil Sly, I'm buying Joe some Fruity Juice for his birthday.
Oh my God.
I tell you what, I miss Fruity Juice because I used to go over and get some juice from Mike.
Let's have a banquet. TWA banquet at Fruity Juice.
There you go.
Compliments of Mike.
Man, that sounds like a plan. So, do you last couple questions before we close it off? Do you watch wrestling at all anymore? Or?
Bits and pieces, really. I try to get into it. It's tough sometimes. I don't know. I do keep trying to give AEW a shot. I think they got a lot of talented guys, athletic guys. I just think they're kind of disorganized. I think everything is just all over the place. I'm happy there's another place guys getting paid and can get paid and
Right.
make a living. I mean, that's always good.
Mm-hmm.
WWE, I think WWE right now, all the stuff with Vince and stuff. I don't even want to get into that, but I think that there is a chance now for them to do something better than what they've done in the past.
I agree. I totally agree.
Regardless of what you think of Vince and his booking and this and that, if Triple H is running it, I think he's learned from the master, but I think he's a little bit more open-minded.
Very much so.
To stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just say like the people in the Rumble, Jordan Grace from TNA and stuff like that. I think that stuff is good. It gets people talking. The main thing that I think that was a detriment to wrestling is kayfabe being gone. And in more general terms, the mystery of it all.
Yeah.
It's like when the magician goes on TV and shows you how the trick's done. Thanks, pal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And not to say that, you're stupid and thinking, well, this is real. It's not real fake thing.
Yeah.
It's getting it being so good and you not knowing everything and being able to get into it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know how to capture that. These media scrums, I don't understand why it's like AEW runs a show and then they go in the media scrum to justify the booking. Like, if you want to do the media scrum, like quasi kayfabe, quasi shoot,
Right.
but they're going to tell you what their thought process was in booking it. It's like,
That's
dude,
'cause
you
you
got to
got
be kidding me.
this what's his name? Tony Khan? He really sounds like he's just a fucking he's like a clusterfuck in
I
the
don't know.
brain.
I mean,
He's like half cocked and he's like the Trump of pro wrestling promoters. Like he goes off half cocked and just starts tweeting stuff and he don't know what the
yeah.
hell he's doing.
He's a little bit younger guy, different generation. I mean, look, it's his company. He could do what he wants. But even WWE, like, I could see if it's like a business type press conference.
Right.
But I cannot stand like this breaking kayfabe. Like, I know kayfabe's dead, but you don't have to rub it in people's faces.
Yeah.
You don't have to constantly remind them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
I think there's things that can be done to make the show more enjoyable, at least while you're watching it. All right,
Yeah.
the show's over. I mean, it's just like a movie. Why would you sit a movie telling yourself this is fake? There's a camera and this and that. Like, I don't know. You know, and I think you really can't go back, but I think you cannot rub it in people's faces.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree. Well, Joe, thanks for doing this. Thanks for hanging out. It's been good
yeah,
seeing
it
you,
was
good
fun.
talking to you. Let's keep in more touch, man. For real.
Definitely. I'm going to see who you have on next.
Besides interacting on Harley Lewis's
Yeah.
comments.
I want to get Harley a reality show. I'll be his agent. I'll only take 10%.
Did you ever get to see yourself in the 1993 ECW intro?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Who will you have on next, Chubby Dudley? That's a good question. I have somebody I am supposed to contact tomorrow. That was I put a list out of 3 people that are MIA that I've been searching for, and one of those people have been found and have been spoken to, and now I'm going to contact them, and I am contacting them tomorrow to see when we can set up the interview.
Awesome.
So
You should have Bob Ortiz on too.
I definitely want to have Bob on. Like Mike, here's what I want to do. Like I really just want to go through the whole roster of everybody that was involved, and not only all the boys in the ring. I want to talk to the Bob Ortizes. I want to talk to Todd's reached out to me a couple times, and every time I asked him to do this, he won't answer. I think eventually he will. I interviewed him 20-something years ago when I was doing AM radio, and he came in the studio. So I think he will eventually. I want to interview the fans. I want to interview, those hardcore fans that were in the front row. I want to interview people behind the scenes that were working behind the scenes. I want to interview, all the inklings of the machine, all the pieces of the machine that made things work and happen. And so,
Hey, you had me on. So,
hey, you were
nobody's off limits.
see that. But you were an important piece, man. You were there from the tri-state days, the switch over, and I'm going to have Molyneux on, and I hope to have Finnegan. I haven't spoke to Finnegan yet about it, but what I'm trying to do too is I'm trying to have it coincide with my reaction videos where I'm going match by match. So I'm to the point now where Joe is like on his way out, and Johnny and Tony now are they're there, but they're not, and stuff like that. So I'm trying to have it coincide, and
Yeah.
every time I say, like, people start asking me like, "Oh, is this one going to be on that one?" Well, like, those people I haven't even gotten to yet. It's like a year or 2 or 3 years down the line in viewing history, and I'm only up to August of
Fed,
1993.
you got to give me 1 second. I know it's late. Give
Yeah,
me 1 second, okay?
yeah. See, now he's going to go to the bathroom. This is what happens when you're talking for hours. You got to go. Let's see. 100 Q Robbins is one person went missing after 1994. I will say this. I just became friends with him on Facebook in the last week or two. I have not reached out to him yet, but I will be reaching out to him soon. And I'll leave it at that. So hopefully he'll come on. I can't make any guarantees, but yeah, I would think he will. I think he'd. I saw he's involved in some other things outside of wrestling. I think he'd want to talk about that too, and I would love to talk to him about everything he's done outside of wrestling since then. I mean, it's been 30 years. Like, what's the guy been doing? He's been in from what I see, he's involved in other stuff in the entertainment business. So I'd like to know more, and I'm sure everybody else would like to know more, and hopefully, some of the fans of ECW can connect over to what he's doing now. I think that would be cool. And that goes for anybody. People get out of the wrestling business, they go into other ventures or whatever, and hopefully it's something they would
Sorry about that.
That's
Thanks.
all right. So, but yeah, this has been fun, man. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, I look forward to see who you got next. It's good to see, like I said, somebody, Bob. I mean, we had Bob at our shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys, especially Johnny, I do have to call him.
Yeah.
Some of the guys I haven't seen, in a long time. But
I wish, maybe when I get up there at some point, would love to maybe try to get all of us together in a room somewhere, hang out for dinner or something.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Fruity Juice could host.
Hey, green juice for everybody.
That clean you out quick.
That's awesome. Hey, I did it, man. I did. I juiced a couple times from Fruity Juice. What is it, Fruity? Why don't hey Bruno? Why don't you give it an easier name? How about Bruno Juice?
Nothing about Mike is easy.
Yeah, Boss's Juice.
I just wanted to, 2 things quick.
Sure.
I just want to remind everybody about the ECWA Super 8, March 23rd. ECWA Wrestling.com. The Super 8 is always a great show.
Absolutely.
And like you said, so many of the guys you see on TV came through the Super 8. So if you get a chance, get there. And I'm not even, thanks for having me. And I don't even want to go through a list of names. There's so many.
Yeah.
Being with photography and the referee and the book and stuff. But I just want to thank everybody. I mean, Joel's one of them. I don't want to go through. There's so many people. I'll forget somebody.
Sure.
That gave me a chance, gave me a shot. They didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
That allowed me to do something that I love. I'm grateful for that, and always thankful for that. So, um, I just had a lot of fun doing it. So,
And you can always go on the WWE network and see yourself being hung by Terry Funk.
yeah, I should at least get the network for free for that. If I'm not getting residuals, I gotta pay $5.99 Peacock. I don't know how many more streaming apps I gotta pay for.
Right? I think you earned it. At least a year. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I've been looking up stuff on YouTube. You find a lot on YouTube free.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be there for a minute, and then it'll get taken down.
What about law stuff? You have law stuff on YouTube?
No.
No.
And all I'll just all my possessions and belongings were lost in a little thing called divorce. So
sorry, brother.
Yeah, I no longer have the tapes, the library. I don't know where they're probably in a landfill somewhere in Pennsylvania.
Well,
along with my wrestling boots and
your boots,
my chubby dudley tie dyes and shorts, and
oh really?
Yeah, my gimmick bag, and yeah,
that's a shame.
Yeah, all history. But hey,
well, you got to do Law 2.0 now.
Hell no. Not happening. Never going to happen. And came to my senses many times over about that. This is as close as I'm going to get to wrestling again. I actually 2 years ago, Giannetti hooked me up with promoter from Florida that also runs here in Nashville, and I went and met with him and his booker and a couple of his main guys. And we hit it off instantly. We had a great conversation. We ended up sitting in bullshit for like 3 hours. And like the first hour in, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be fun. This is going to be great. And then like the next hour, I start questioning myself in my head. I'm like, do you realize what you're getting involved in? And then the third hour, I'm like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. Don't do this. And I left. And I had gotten the job working behind the scenes with them. And as I was driving home, I texted the dude and I said, thank you. I had a blast. I had a ball. I'm honored, but I can't step back into the business like that.
It's tempting. You want it, but you got to be smart. So
yeah, there's too many demons that go along with it.
All depends where you're at in life too. Like I said, You said about getting a full-time job and stuff. That's a single guy's deal.
Exactly. Exactly.
You don't have a family or any dependents.
Yeah.
Too risky.
Bingo. So on that note, I'll leave it at that. Joe, thank you again. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. And I look forward to getting us all together virtually on here at some point for a little TWA reunion, and as well as in person. I would love to see everybody all together again.
It sounds good to me.
Yeah, man. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Joe, anywhere you want people to find you, or do you want to hide from people? Or
I'm on Facebook mostly. Just Joe Zanolle. Just Joe.
Just Joe. Just Joe.
Yeah,
Just
I can't.
Joe.
I don't know what Twitter, X, Instagram. I get confused.
It's funny. I googled you earlier and I saw you were on Twitter/X.
Yeah,
For a minute. Yeah.
yeah. I haven't been on there. I'm on the old man social media, Facebook.
There you go. That's awesome. Joe, thanks again, man. And
All right,
we'll
Bay. Thanks. I
be
appreciate
talking to you
it.
soon. Absolutely, brother.
Take care, man.
You too.
Bye.
Everybody, go down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Tons more coming, and a lot more stories, and a lot more fun, and a lot more ECW history for everybody.